tonight. It's always something I look forward to, the opportunity to speak with our coaches. A lot of times I spend my days here kind of screen. It's really nice to have the chance to actually talk to people for a change. I love what we do, and I love what we're a part of. One of the challenges that I have whenever I do these calls is I look at all of you right here on the screen, this little checkerboard pattern on the screen right here, and my belief, or not my belief, my desire is that every one of you can come away from this type of a call with the courage to take the next steps, to move forward. The reason why I say that is, it's the reason why I put that kind of that pressure on myself is I grew up around direct selling. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about myself. Actually, I had like 10 different notes, and I'm just decided, like literally right before we got on, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna talk to these guys. We're just gonna talk directly, and I hope this will make sense to you. But I'm going to just talk to you as if you were just sitting here right now, and where I imagine you probably are at. And if it sucks, then we can just delete the recording, Leslie, and we'll pretend this never happened. But hopefully it'll be helpful. Because as I look at you guys, and I see you here in your homes, and I see you taking time away from your family, from your evening activities to listen to me speak, it makes me think about my dad. I grew up around direct selling. My dad, when he was a teacher, I was the oldest of 7 kids, and in my house money was always tight growing up, and I never knew a time when my dad didn't have at least 2 jobs: his teaching job, one other job, and he was always doing some form of direct sales on the side, MLM, if you will. And so I grew up around it. And for us, my dad's direct selling business was not about cars and boats. It was shoes. It was T-ball fees. It was the extras of life. More so for me, it was hearing my parents' voices when they would talk at night, when they thought I was asleep, and they talk about money. And I could tell that they felt more secure, that they felt better, that they could pay the bills. And their sense of security gave me security. And so whenever I do these calls and I'm looking at all of you, I think it's hard for me to not picture me in that time, to think about maybe your children, if you have children, to think about maybe what this business means for you and what it's doing for you, or what you're hoping it will do for you. And all those years watching my dad go through that, and then afterwards, after I became old enough, I would do that business with him. I was on your side of the fence, if you will, talking to people and doing things if you was a coach. For many, many years before I got on the corporate side. And all that time, there's a couple things that really kind of stood out to me, is that being an entrepreneur has amazing benefits and amazing incentives, but it can be challenging at times. It can be hard. It can be tough. People can misunderstand you. People would say some of the weirdest things to my dad, and I'd be like, what are you talking about? That's not who my dad is, right? They misunderstand you. All those things that come in. And over time, if you're not careful, you can start to overcomplicate things. You can start to think that you can become so enamored with chasing some shortcut or chasing some secret script or some thinking whatever you think is the right way to do this, that you can get overly distracted and unintentionally overcomplicate your business. Especially at this time of the year, we're at the like Leslie was just mentioning, we're almost through November. Okay, we're into December, and I can't believe the year's gone by. And for some of you on this call, you're in a really good place. You've had a good year. And you're just kind of trying to put a bow on the end of this year. Some of you aren't that way. Some of you are kind of crawling right now. Some of you are thinking about, you know what, I'm just going to mail it in till January. Some of you are wondering, can I really do this? Is coaching really for me? This is harder than I thought it was going to be. There's a lot of different lives I know as I'm looking in this screen. But I do know one thing for sure, and that it's worth doing. And that what we do matters. And the platform works. And what we offer as a way for coaches to build a business is something they can be proud of, that it makes a difference. And while we're not perfect, we're definitely trying to get better in a lot of areas. The core of who we are, we should be unapologetically proud to share that with people and have confidence in being able to do that. And as I'm talking through this, I want to go back then to that piece of, as we think about that attitude, then I want to talk through about simplicity now. I think this is a good time of the year to talk through simplicity. And to do that, I want to break it down into 3 segments, if I will. I want to talk about, I'm going to break them down right here. The first one I want to talk about is learning to live purposefully, okay? The second one I want to talk about is how we attacking obstacles with fear, or excuse me, with belief and not fear. This is that story I told at leadership that you're going to hear me tell again, Leslie, so don't get bored, okay? And then, and then the last thing is I want to talk about this idea of controlling the controllable, okay? So those are the 3 things I'm going to hit on. First, I want to talk through the, sorry, I've got emails on my other screen here I'm trying to close down so I want to talk about learning to live purposefully. Typically this time of the year, one of the things that I notice with coaches that starts to increase the complexity in their business is they started to depart away from the purpose behind why they do what they do. So I want to talk about that for just a second, because chances are this is a great time of year right now to get reconnected to your purpose. People only do things consistently that matter to them. That's something you have to remember. They only do things consistently that matter to them. And one of the things I know with coaches is typically at this time of the year, especially good coaches, and I know you've got access to great training and great support and great leadership, but a lot of those activities that you're doing on a daily basis, if you are not careful, they can start to feel just like tasks, like doing the laundry or something else like that. And when you start to treat them as tasks, you start to rob them of their purpose. And when those things don't have purpose behind them, they're empty. And when they're empty, they don't carry power to people. People don't react well to those empty tasks. So you might be going through the same actions. Here's an indication, if this is you. If you feel like I'm doing all the same things I was doing before, but I'm not getting the same results, one of the first areas that I look at is, are your actions now devoid of purpose? Are they this empty shell? On the outside, they look the same, but there's no core anymore behind what they're doing, okay? The reason why I kind of talk about this in terms of learning to live purposefully is it is in our nature, okay, sometimes to walk away or to try and, how do I say this? It's not typical for people to live purposefully. For a lot of people, it takes a conscious effort to build a habit around living purposefully, okay? This is what living purposefully means to me. I know a direction that I want to go. I know where I'm wanting to go, okay? Long-term, short-term, whatever it happens to be. And I know why I want to go there. At its very core level, I know why I want to go there. And then I can look and say, between now and 30 days from now or 60 days from now, here's some things that I'm trying to do. Okay? And I know why that goal, if you will, or those outcomes I'm shooting for are tied to my purpose or what I'm trying to, I can connect those. I have to, in my mind, I see this as being like connected with like chain links, right? They're like linked together. They're strong. When I do that, I can say, okay, now for me to achieve those things in the next for a year, maybe it's between now and the end of the year, I've got some things that I'm trying to push for by the end of the year. And I know the actions that I have to do every single day if I want to reach those pieces. The goals that I've got set for myself. Okay, my goals, just you guys, my goals have changed this year. I started goals up here. They had to shift as reality set in and different stuff happened to me and all this kind of stuff. But I know where I can be in the next 30, 40 days. And I know the actions that I have to do. And all of a sudden, when I connect those actions to that outcome, to my purpose, now I've endowed those actions with meaning. And so when I go about them, they have more oomph to them. For you specifically, if you don't know why you are starting new conversations every single day, beyond it's just a task, I guess it's better than not doing it at all. But the second you understand that, man, I know why starting these conversations, I know why extending these invitations, I know why following up with these people, I know why, and it's beyond just Success Club. Success Club should be an outcome of a bigger goal that you're trying to chase, of helping people and doing that. Should just be a byproduct of this, and it's a great way to measure it, and it is a good thing to keep in mind. But man, your purpose isn't Success Club as a coach, right? So what's the purpose behind those actions? Because the second you endow those purposes those actions with purpose, those actions begin to resonate more and more with people. It connects with people. It reaches them. They can tell a difference. Even on the outside, if it looks the same, the inside is what makes the difference of that action. Okay? So endow your actions with purpose. If you have not taken a second to ask yourself about my why as a coach, and what am I trying to shoot for right now, and how does that help me get to that? If you haven't done that for a while, now is a really good time to do it. Here's what I coach when I'm working with people. Here's what I do when I kind of get in a situation. I have them start, if you've been with Beachbody for a little while, this is usually the question that I start with. I have them answer this. If not for Beachbody, I would have never what? If not for being a coach with Beachbody, I would have never what? Okay. And then whatever the answer to that is, ask yourself this question. Is that still worth fighting for? Does that still matter to me? Is that still relevant to me? And if the answer is yes, which in most cases it is, then you ask yourself why. Why is it relevant to me? Why does it matter to me? Okay? And then the last question you ask yourself is then, how does that connect to my coaching business? How does that connect to what I do as a coach every single day? That's a great place to start. And if you'll do me a favor, if you will take the time to identify that, reconnect yourself to that, so that if Leslie or your coach or someone were to ask you, okay, so tell me why. Why do you do those things during your power hour? Why is it, what's the reason why we're doing X, Y, Z? And if you can say, well, I'm doing this because it helps me get this, which helps me get this, which is what I want. You need to be able to connect that all the way along the line. Okay? So that's my first thing I want to talk to you about. Okay? Endowing your things with learning to live more purposefully. The funny thing is, you guys, when we consciously do this, when we learn how to do this, we can almost set monthly, every 60 days, quarterly. No, I never go more than a quarter without having this little conversation with myself. And you can always tell when it happens. My wife laughs. I'm looking for my dry erase marker. Keep a dry erase marker in my bag. And in my rear view mirror in my car on the bottom, I write down a couple words that kind of remind me of my purpose or the things I'm shooting for. Not because I'm some Tony Robbins crazy person, but just because I have to have that or I walk away from it. All of a sudden, life gets heavy. I get distracted. Things go nutso. And I think I'm doing it, but I'll all of a sudden wake up one day and feel like, man, like, ugh. And I realize that I have disconnected everything that I'm doing from why I'm doing it. That I can go through the actions and I'm good enough that it makes people not really notice a difference, but I notice a difference. And people that I'm working with can see that in me, okay? So learn to live purposefully. The second piece. As we're going through this time of the year, as entrepreneurs in general, as I worked with my dad, I remember one of the things that I always looked up to my dad about is my dad was tireless. He was relentless. If it was something that mattered to him, he went after it. And when things got tough, when his commitment was tested, he used to always tell me that, Kim, you can say you're committed to something, but you never know you're committed to it till that commitment gets pushed on. And so he said, Kim, whenever that commitment comes, you've got a choice. You can come at that pushback, that obstacle, that headwind, whatever you want to call it, from a place of fear or from a place of belief. Okay? And how you choose to come at that will dictate the outcomes in large part that you experience. And in the long run, how you choose to come out of that will also determine the amount of joy you feel from the life that you live. Okay? This was my dad laying this on me when I was younger. And I've always grown up with that thought process. Am I coming at the things as my commitments get pushed on? Do I respond from a place of fear or from a place of belief? And sometimes it can be tricky to kind of understand the difference because they can feel the same. This is one of the analogies that I use is what I call a hitter's mindset. This is the story that Leslie referred to, so I'm going to share it with you if that's okay. So and this hopefully will help you. The story will hopefully help you understand the concept and remember it more than anything. Growing up, one of the sports that I played, well, the only sport I played well, to be honest with you, was baseball. I love playing baseball. And as I was a father and I had started having a family, my first son has pretty severe mental disabilities. And so we played baseball, but that extended to me kind of playing catch with him, throwing the ball softly, and then he would try to swing and I would try to hit his bat when he would swing. And it wasn't really baseball, but it was what we did together and it was great. When my second son came along, my third oldest, I have four, so I guess my second to youngest, how do you say that? You know what I mean? he came along. He didn't have the disability, and I remember always looking forward to coaching him baseball. If he wanted to play baseball, I was excited to play baseball with him. And so one of the things I've always enjoyed is being able to be his baseball coach. And I know as a coach that my job in coaching baseball is really twofold. The first one is to make sure I teach him the skills, right? How to field, how to hit, how to throw, how to catch, the skills of the game. And then second to that, but almost equally as important to that, is the mindset of a baseball player. Baseball, like a lot of sports, is significantly impacted by the mindset of the player and how they play the game, okay? And so, and when it comes to baseball, no place is this easier seen than when it comes to hitting. Because hitting, it's just kind of you and the pitcher and the batter and the game. And so, to illustrate my point, whenever we would have practice, right? Batting practice specifically, we go out and practice hitting. I would get all the kids together, and I would take my hat off, and I would throw it in the middle of center field. And I would tell the kids, I would say, look, any one of you guys, as I'm pitching batting practice to you, if you hit the ball and hit it past my hat, you'll get a candy bar. Now, don't judge me. It's just one of those little mini candy bars. I know I'm not supposed to do that and all that stuff. I should have given out packets of Daily Sunshine, but we didn't have Daily Sunshine back then. Anyway, so again, we call it the Candy Bar Club. And so when I did that, this is what happened. They would get in that batter's box, and you could tell. They were looking at that bat, and they had one thought in their mind. Hit the ball past that hat. And so when I was pitching it, they were swinging hard. They were trying to hit the ball as hard as they could. They weren't up there thinking, is it a ball? Is it a strike? Is it going to hit me? What's going to happen? Their only thought was swing hard. They were coming at their action from a place of belief, a belief that they could hit that ball and they could hit it far. They could hit it past that hat. Okay? Their decision-making reflected that. Okay? That belief. Now, you take that same kid, you take him out of practice now, and you put him in a game. When I would coach the kids at practice, I would tell them, this is a hitter's mindset. Swing the ball hard. Swing to hit the ball. Don't swing to not miss. Swing to hit the ball. You play the game, play to win. Okay? Don't play to not lose. In the game, you would see a change. And a lot of these kids, again, the mental side of the game, they would get in that batter's box. And instead of having that thought in their head, I got to swing the bat hard. I want to hit the ball far. Their dominant thought was, I don't want to strike out. I don't want to swing and miss. I don't want to get hit. In practice, they were focusing on what they wanted to have happen. They were playing to win. They were coming at it from a place of belief. In the game, a lot of them switch. And they come at that from a place of fear. Their actions, again, their actions are dictated from a place of fear. They're focusing on what they don't want to have happen. They're playing to not lose. They're tentative in their swings. Okay? And you can see it. You can see in how they play the game. I'll get to the story in just a second to close this. Okay, I want to miss the point here, but I'll tell the story, Leslie, don't worry, okay? Here's the takeaway from this. When we talk about attacking obstacles with belief and fear, there is a difference between playing to win and playing not to lose. I want you to look at how you're coming at your business right now, the decisions, the goals, the things that you're setting for your business right now, and ask yourself a question. Am I coming at this from a place of belief, optimism, confidence, focusing on the things that I want to have happen, or am I playing to not lose? Coming at it from a place of fear, focusing on what I don't want to have happen. And when you start to think that way, I want you to pay attention to the narratives that you are telling yourself. To me, the single most important thing when it comes to mindset is being consciously aware of your narratives and learning how to either remove narratives that aren't aligned to where you want to go or learning to align them, okay? The narratives are kind of like this ever-present thing that's always being, that everything you experience runs through. Every experience that comes through. For example, someone says, you extend an invite and someone says no. Maybe your default response is, man, this is such a hard year to do this. No one's really interested in fitness right now. That's a narrative. You have to ask yourself, is that aligned to what I'm trying to do or not? Okay? Maybe a better narrative would be, man, it can be tough this year, but the good news is the people that are looking for it are ones that are really committed. those are great customers for me. I'm going to keep trying to find one of those people. The narratives, again, it's just so important that you're A, conscious of them, and that B, as you look at what you're trying to do, as you look at those, as you're conscious of those narratives, you can say, okay, look, if it's unaligned, if it's pushing me in a direction that I don't want to go, I need to either remove that narrative, like stop telling myself that, stop indulging in that, or I need to realign it. I need to point it back in the direction I need to go. So what I would ask you to do is then right now, when you look at your business, start writing down, just be honest with yourself. What are some of the dominant narratives that I've been telling myself about my business, about the way people are responding to my business, about my invitations, about my abilities as a coach, about my abilities as a business owner, whatever those things happen to me. And just start writing out some of those and be honest with yourself. Don't write what you think you know you need to hear. Write what you're telling yourself. And then I would take 2 or 3 of the most impactful ones and either figure out how to remove those and say, okay, next time I start thinking this, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to think this instead. Or realign it, reword it, restructure it so that maybe it's saying the same thing, but you're focusing on it coming out from a place of belief, focusing on what you want to have happen and not what you don't want to have happen. And I know that there might be some of you on here that are like, this is just a bunch of hokey, whatever, pseudoscience, fakey stuff. But I got to tell you guys, I in my experience, and in all the years that I've spent, last 18 years working with people just like a lot of you, it makes a big difference. Endowing your actions with belief, like I just talked about, and being aware of the narratives that I'm telling myself to make sure that I'm coming at what I'm trying to achieve from a place of belief, focusing on what I want to have happen, programming and continue to let myself focus and tell myself those narratives that will push me in the direction that I want to go. Okay, those small battles in your mind make all the difference. The last point, the third point that I want to mention, and then I'll just end with a quick experience or story with you, is learning how to control the controllable. Okay, this is something, if anyone's ever on this call has ever worked with me before, you've heard me, I talk about this all the time with coaches. Okay, one of the hard things about entrepreneurism, and specifically in this type of a model, is there are a lot of things that are outside of your control that you need to have go your way for you to achieve some of the success that you want. I will tell you this, you will waste a ton of time, you will be miserable, and you will overburden your mind emotionally, and you will overtax your willpower trying to control things that you cannot control. Controlling the controllable is the discipline to acknowledge that there are some things that are just out of my control. And the time that I spend chasing that or indulging or pouring myself into that is wasted time and energy. It is it's a reflection of undisciplined thinking. For me, okay, and for you as a coach, disciplining our mind to focus on these things I've talked about, but also to identify, okay, so I'm going to give my very best self, my very best efforts to the things that I can control. Here's what I want to do. Here's my mindset. I'm working on getting that all aligned. Now, when it comes to my actions, I want to make sure that the things that I have control over get the very best of me, which means I do them first, and I'm pretty clear in those actions, so I know when I'm strayed into uncontrollable territories. Few things will have you lose a hitter's mindset more quickly than trying to indulge in uncontrollable activities. Okay, it will just take you right down there, and it will sink you, and it will suck you dry. Okay, and you will wake up one day and you will resent the coaches on your team. You'll resent your customers. You'll resent Beachbody. You'll resent yourself. There is resentment, jealousy, anger, frustration, and pain exist in trying to control the uncontrollable. But here's the secret I'll tell you. What I've learned over the years is that when I focus myself and discipline myself on controlling the controllable, that's the very best way to influence the things that are out of my control such that they break the way I need them to go. And there's a leap of faith in there that you have to be willing to take. You have to be willing to make that leap. But the best way to control the things that you don't control, the outcomes that you need to have breakthrough that you hope, is to focus on controlling the things that you can control and holding yourself accountable to those things. At the beginning of this call, I talked about the basics. This is where the basics now are coming into play. We've talked about the basics of our mindset. We've talked about the basics of kind of endowing those basics actions with purpose. Now we're going to talk about the basics and actually the actions that we choose to do, okay? Controlling it, you'll notice that all of the things, whether it's the 4 vital behaviors or these other pieces, these are all controllable activities, controllable actions that you can hold yourself accountable for. The basics, by and large, are controllable activities. So ask yourself, have I strayed too far? Am I overindulging in uncontrollable activities such that it's eating up all my time and energy and emotion, and it's changing and souring how I see things? And if so, okay, great. The first step is recognizing that. The second step now is changing it. So maybe I make a list. Here are the things, the uncontrollable things that I'm trying to control. And here's what I'm going to do to stop doing that. And most of them are just going to be a change right up here and how I approach it. But it's another thing that I found is really helpful is to say, okay, look, I know my purpose. I endow my activities with purpose. I know what those actions need to be. I got to make sure those are controllable actions. And then I'm just going to list them out. And every single day, the actions that I do, I'm going to be really clear on what are the controllable actions. And those things get the best of me. Look, everyone's going to indulge in a little uncontrollable activity, gossipy, brouhaha, all that kind of stuff. But man, do that after you've done all the controllable actions. Let those get the very best of you. And then you'll have plenty of time to scroll mindlessly through Facebook and compare yourself and do all that kind of stuff that you shouldn't do, right? And you'll have all that time to do that later, okay? But do these other things first, okay? Do these other things first. You guys, I know it's not always easy, but I know it's worth it. You're worth it. The things of lasting value in your life, at least in my life, have never been given to me. They've always been earned. And they're often earned and re-earned and earned again. And so we have to understand that if you're going to build something and create something of lasting value for yourself, that there's going to be a process to that. And the things I've shared with you will hopefully help you get there. Now I'm going to end with one story that's going to go back to this hitter's mindset because I want you to remember it. I told you I was going to say it, and I didn't want to say it right there because I wanted to get through those 3 points so I could make sure I tied them all together. Now I'll tell you the story. So my son Joshua, going back to my son Joshua, coaching his baseball team. I'm going to try not to get emotional on this one because I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. Driving on Thanksgiving weekend, right, with kids is never restful. But my son Joshua he's a wonderful kid. We call him the big little brother because my oldest 2 kids have special needs. He's my third, and he was the first child born in our family without special needs. And so he's kind of always carried this thing on his shoulders of being the older brother to his older brother and sister. And he was born with just a good spirit. And he likes to, like a lot of, older kids, or oldest children, he can be a little bit of a perfectionist. He gets very judgmental and very hard on himself when things don't work out right. And he's an incredible pleaser. Like, he wants to make people happy. And one of the reasons why I have my son Joshua play sports is I want him to learn, okay, that sometimes we can take that too far. Sometimes, being perfect, okay, no one's ever going to be perfect. But how do we continue to try to grow and achieve in the face of imperfection? And how do you handle it when you disappoint or when maybe you don't make somebody happy, right? And sports does that for him. And baseball this last year was a little bit of a challenge for him. The team that we had put together had 3 or 4 kids that were very, very, very good, much better than my son Joshua. And this made my son Joshua very intimidated to be around them. He always felt like he didn't measure up. He always felt like they were better than him, that he didn't deserve to be there. He would make mistakes and it would just destroy him because he thought he'd let these other kids down and all these other things that happened. And it was a good opportunity for him to learn and grow. And there was one particular experience where I saw this happen. We were going into the third to last game of the season, and we were tied for first place with this other team. We hadn't played this other team yet. And that in that third to last game, we were playing them, and the winner would basically be in first place and probably would take first place in that in our league and then be slated in the state tournament as a first place seed. And the kids all knew this was a big game. And we were driving down to the ballpark. I remember I was sitting with my son Joshua, and he was really quiet. And I know him. I knew he was feeling anxious. And so I leaned over to him as we were driving down the hill from our house, and I just said, "Hey, buddy." I said, "Are you okay?" He said, "Yeah, Dad, I'm just a little bit nervous." I said, "That's okay, buddy. We all get nervous when when these things happen. It's okay to be nervous. I'm nervous. I'm not even playing in the game and I'm nervous. And I said, but just remember, just go out there and do your best, okay? And play to win, okay? Play to win the game. That's one thing I always tell him, because he slips into the play to not lose very quickly. And he was quiet for a few more minutes, and I could tell that didn't do enough. And so I said, buddy, are you going to be okay? Do you want to say a little prayer or something? And he just said, Dad, he goes, I don't want to make a mistake. I said, Josh, bud, you're probably going to make a mistake, and it's going to be okay. And I just felt so inadequate as a dad in that moment. Anyway, we get to the field, and he's still a little bit nervous, and the kids are there, and they're warming up, and they're in the ballpark. There's 4 fields. And as the game got close to getting started, people were leaving the other games to come watch this one. So now the field was kind of surrounded by spectators, which was unusual for this type of game. And there's a lot of energy in the air. And the game started, and the kids were a little bit tense. And first couple innings, there wasn't any score, but we ended up scoring a couple runs. And we were up 3 runs. The last inning, they got up. They scored a couple runs. They tied up the game. Now we were going into the last inning, okay? And we're tied, going to the last inning. And it's always hard for me sometimes to coach my son, because I have to be a coach, but then there's also part of me that has to be a dad. And I don't know when to check those. But for just a second, my dad side came out, and I just wanted to see where Joshua was in the lineup as we were coming up to hit, because I was scared for him. Because the energy was just palpable. These guys had just come back and tied the game, and there was just this pressure of this little league game. And these kids, you could just see them. They just felt it. And I thought for a second, man, I just hope that he doesn't have to get up there, because this might break him. Like, he just might not. That pleasing perfectionist side of him just might make him crumble. And I looked, and I saw that he was up to bat, the 5th person up to bat that inning. So the first kid got up and got a walk and got on. The second kid got out. The third kid got up and hit a single and moved the kid to second base. So now we have kids at first and second base. Next kid gets up, gets a walk. Bases are loaded, 1 out. And my little boy's up to the plate. And I remember I was coaching third base, and I was standing down there, and I was dying, because I could just see him. I could see him up there, and he was struggling. And so I tried to not make a big deal of it. I just said, buddy, it's okay, get in there. And I could see when he got in the batter's box that he did not have a hitter's mindset. I can always tell with Joshua, because when he's thinking he's going to swing the bat hard and hit it hard, he's got that right mindset of hitting the ball, playing to win. He leans back on his back foot so he can really step into the pitch. And whenever he doesn't have that, he stands straight up. And I was looking at him, and he was standing straight up. And I'm cheering for him, and I'm trying to encourage him. And I'm like, buddy, you got this, you got this. And the first pitch comes in, and it's a strike. And he steps out of that box, and he looks at me, and he just starts crying. And I was like, okay, I need to be a dad right now more than I need to be a coach. So I called timeout, and I went down. And I put my arm around him a little bit. We had a little quiet huddle, and I said, you're going to be okay. And he said, Dad, he goes, I can't do this. And I said, buddy, you got to do it. And he goes, Dad, I can't. I said, Josh, here's the thing I want you to do. I just want you to get in that batter's box, and I want you to just swing hard. Swing to hit the ball, Josh. Just play to win, Josh. Play. And Josh, if you miss it, it's not going to matter. If you miss it, I know you think it's going to matter, but Josh, it won't matter. You just, what will matter the most to you is that you play to win. So I want you to get in there, son, and I don't want you to worry about if it's a ball or if it's a strike or what might happen or what could happen. The only thought I want to have in your head is, can I hit this ball and then swing hard if the answer is yes? That's all I want you to do, okay? And I gave him a second, and I just said, it's going to be all right, buddy. And he got in that batter's box, and I walked back down to third base, and I was looking at him. He was still standing straight up. The next pitch that came in was a ball. And he kind of stepped out, and he looked at me again at third base, and I was like, come on, buddy, you got a hitter. Let's hit the ball. And as he stood back in there on that next pitch, I saw him lean back. And I kept yelling, swing hard, because he knows when I say swing hard, it means play to win. Just go after it. Don't be hesitant. Focus on what you want to have happen. Don't focus on what you don't want to have happen. And I saw him lean back, and this pitch came in, and he swung hard. And it wasn't some home run, and it wasn't some crazy line drive. In fact, he didn't even hit it on the best part of the bat. But he hit a ground ball up the middle, that scored the run, and he got on first base, and everyone just went berserko, cheering for him. And it was like, and I looked at his face, and I don't think I've ever seen him that happy. Just this sense of relief and all these things that happened. Anyway, we went on to win the game. And we were walking out to the car, and after everything, we packed up all the equipment and everything, and I was carrying the bag, and I was walking with them, and the last couple people that were lingering around and told him good game and give him a high five. We were walking out to the car, and he had a little skip in his step, and I said, "Did you have fun?" He said, "Yeah, Dad, I had fun." I said, "Good, buddy." I said, "Good." I said, "That was a lot of fun. Those games can get kind of crazy." And then he asked me something. And he asks me this question every once in a while. And every time he does, it kind of kills me inside a little bit as a parent. But it's quiet for a second, and he just goes, "So, Dad, are you proud of me?" And I'm like, "Of course I'm proud of you, son." I said, "I'm so proud of you." I said, I couldn't be more proud of you, but I want you to understand why I'm proud of you. I said, I think it's awesome that you got that hit. I think it's awesome that you got that run in. I think that's phenomenal, but that's not why I'm proud of you. That makes me happy, but it's not why I'm proud of you. Josh, I'm proud of you because you got in there and you swung hard and you were scared and you were nervous and you forced yourself to focus on hitting the ball and swinging the bat hard. I could tell him, when you leaned back, Josh, I knew that what were you thinking then? Were you thinking about swinging hard, or were you thinking about, I don't want to strike out? He goes, I was thinking about swinging hard. I said, that's why I'm proud of you, because when it mattered, when it was hard, you forced yourself to have that hitter's mindset. You came at what you wanted from a place of belief and focusing on what you want to happen to the very best that you could. That's why I'm proud of you. It's not easy. You'll never know your commitment level until that commitment level gets pushed on. So what can you commit to between now and the end of the year? What can you commit to between now and the end of the month? Okay? How can you simplify and focus on the basics and endow those actions with purpose? How can you look at the narratives to make sure you're not getting in your own way by telling yourself something that's pushing you in a direction you don't want to go? And how can you focus on you doing all of that while controlling the controllable? Guys, I know you can do that. I know you can. What are those commitments you're willing to make? Are you willing to play to win? Or are you going to be satisfied with just playing to not lose? I hope you play to win. I hope you will. I hope you set some goals and push yourself and finish this year strong. So Leslie, I've taken way more time than you wanted me to, but I appreciate you guys letting me jump on here, and I'm happy to stay on and answer any questions. If there's anything I can do with them, but just leave it alone.
It was awesome. You have like people crying on here tonight.
Help you remember the lesson.
So good. So good. And I think it applies so well to where we are right now. I think a lot of coaches can relate to Josh, and they needed to hear that, like, it's okay to like just have that hitter's mindset and swing hard and play to win. And we kind of are in that like final inning here in the end of November, beginning of December. So,
well, and the thing is, guys, here's the thing about the hitter's mindset idea is it's always easy to find people in your life that will help you embrace mediocrity, that will help you find excuses, that will help you find reasons to not do things. And I think one of the things that separates people who can build and sustain success for themselves is they, A, surround themselves with people who don't do that, and B, they hold themselves to a different standard on that. They're not afraid to own their life. They're not afraid to own the choices that they make. They're not afraid to do that, and they're not content to be good when they could be great. They're not content to just settle for what other people. That's why comparison is so dangerous, right? If I'm satisfied just with being better than other people, or if I think that that's the judgment of my success, well, that's just a road to mediocrity. Be the best you that you can be. Sorry, I won't get started again. That's a whole other training, but you know what I'm saying.
We'll take that call next. But thank you so much. I know like Monday night after Thanksgiving, it's a lot, but we appreciate your time, and thank you so much for being here. 100+ coaches to listen to you tonight. So
hopefully it was helpful to you guys. If you have any questions, just message me.
Thank you.
Hey guys, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye guys. Thanks everyone for being on. We'll see you in 2 weeks.